Trip Digital Radio presents LA Style Magazine. Tis the time. Marquita Monet and Trisha Love. What's going on, guys?
Yo, man. It's cold weather got people, man. What is that? Batteries. Let's go, baby.
Food up. All this, rain and stuff.
Man, I'm telling you, Jay.
Well,
it never rains in South Carolina. No, it does.
Yes,
and it's
does.
cold.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
But we need that rain because, all the fires and stuff like that was going on. So, it's moistening the ground.
And the grass wants to be greener.
Absolutely.
Okay, Journey and Trisha, they are balanced.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's the reality now. Right. Homes are sliding, just say it. Come on, man.
That part.
Enough is enough. I want warm weather. That's why I moved it. Let's do this.
Okay, wow.
But here's the thing. It's not about us or the weather. Trisha Love, bring in our guest, please.
Yes.
We have with us the wonderful Patrick Shannon. How are
you? Hey,
yes. Look at him. Yeah.
Looking like amazing.
Appreciate you.
What's good?
Well, thank you for being here. For audiences that are listening, tell us a little bit about you and your story. Where are you from?
Sure. So I was born and raised on the East Coast, New England and South Florida. Very nomadic family. So from a young age, I pretty much got a good overview of different cultures and history of the people available to us. And so that kind of led me into a career in journalism.
What part of South Florida?
Stewart. It's a little north of Miami.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I've driven through there. It sounds
Most
familiar.
people drive through it at some point. Nobody stops. It's the sailfish capital of the world.
Is it?
It's our one claim to fame. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So
I need to go down.
I know.
So going from I lived in South Florida, then went to high school in Boston, then went to college at University of Georgia, where I studied creative writing, and then that led me to a career in blogging, and then from blogging about music, indie music, hardcore punk music, I got into the electronic scene because at the time, in like 2011, 2012, electronic was really the base of this like DIY culture that was reminiscent of like the punk culture in the 70s. And I thought it was just the coolest thing that these kids were coming out and like building this something out of nothing completely on their own. And they'd been completely ostracized from like the club scene. And so they were just like, screw it, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's always where the cool things happen. Is when you tell kids no, and they just go, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
Yeah. I think like people in general.
Right, exactly. So there is that great creativity and repression, and it eventually led me out here to LA. I never aspired to live in Los Angeles in my life, but I was blogging, and I met an editor at Playboy who offered to give me the opportunity to interview Waka Flocka Flame. So I did that, and that interview went really well. And then Playboy said, okay, we'll give you some more work. So I did a few stories for them. And it was just easier to live in LA where the whole thing was happening.
Yeah, I'm sure you had all the invites.
Right, exactly. Well, people always think it's more glamorous than it is. Like, I've never been to the mansion. I've never.
Oh, man, that was our next question.
I'm sure you dropped the name. They're like, I'm a writer for Playboy.
Oh, of course.
Just so you know.
That's how I get through the guest list and the door and everything. But yeah, so, I was freelancing with them and started working with LA Weekly, which is just, it was so surreal to see my articles next to like Henry Rollins and like these big prolific artists that, I revered so greatly as a kid. And that just sprawled into a freelance career. However, I've recently made the pivot, and now I work at a record label called Thrive Music. I'm the general manager over there. It's a very historied label. They broke the careers of Deep Dish, releases with Stevie Aoki. And a lot of prolific artists. Right now we have coming up, I'm not trying to plug the label too much. That's kind of cheesy. But we work with like Nervo, Say My Name, who just sold out to Palladium last week. 4B, really great bass act. And we kind of like skirt the line between the up and comers and really established, legacy acts. And it's a really interesting time to work at a record label because the DSPs, digital service providers like Spotify and Apple Music and everything is completely changing the game. And we all pretend like we know what's going on, but it's really just we're shooting darts in the dark.
For sure.
Like we're just seeing what lands and how these things, how it's gonna be laid out for the future. I mean,
Like
we have absolutely no
monetized,
clue.
you mean, or like
Yeah, I mean, like having this conversation earlier, like right now, 1,000 streams count as an album sale. Who came up with that number?
I
Like
don't know.
it's completely
Yeah.
arbitrary, and who's to
Yeah.
say like why wouldn't 10 streams count as an album sale?
Right.
But that's the way
Tracks.
that's the way that they're these things are dictated nowadays, and like I said, it's completely arbitrary, and someone at some point is going to come in and make a more justified system, I believe.
Just.
Totally.
It sounds like a
Yes.
just system too, man. So
Absolutely.
I do have a question for you though. So you've talked about Thrive and everything and the large scope of what they do, but what is exactly that you do at Thrive?
Sure. So my title is the Manager of Commerce and Digital Strategy, which just sounds like a really made up thing. I mean, it kind of is. So most of my day to day is representing the label amongst other people in the industry and with the DSPs and partner programs and everything. So I'm the one that kind of like greases the deals, but also my background is as a journalist, and the owner of the label, Ricardo Venus, brought me in because of that diverse background. He didn't want just another label head to come in. So one of the things we're working on now is marrying some type of internal media with the record label, because there's kind of like what I was talking about with how DSPs are creating this wild west when it comes to music. The same thing is happening with social media. It's like we pretend like we understand social media and what the internet is doing to our culture and everything, but really we have no clue.
Right.
But that kind of awards us a lot of freedom, and all of a sudden these traditional entities or companies that had no hand in the media before can come in and carve out their own space. I mean, I like to think of every musician's Facebook page as its own magazine.
Right.
And you're
That's a
building
dope
their own
idea.
story and everything. And I think it's, on one hand, it's really great because we're in this great idea sharing revolution where everyone that can articulate a point has the ability to get that point out. But at the same time, it's a tug and pull, where on the other end, every idiot that has a point can also get through as well.
Right.
More than
Right, exactly.
True.
So we're in the middle of this like influencer culture thing, and a lot of people consider that to be a pejorative, but I think those influencers are really just carving the path for what's going to be really great speakers coming to play. And the fact that you're able to do something like this, like a Dash Radio that's was unheard of 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answered your question.
No,
about the
you did.
label.
No, you did.
No.
You did. Because you're more like a journey, within Trip Digital. You know
Right.
what I mean, you're out there, making things happen and smoothing out stuff and really making those contacts.
Yeah. So, I mean, journalism is you're hunting truth, and I went to school for creative writing where you're designing, a faux truth. And so I feel like working with these artists and being a part of their journey is like creative writing. And, I have the ability to influence and kind of sculpt, a narrative around their career, which is pretty exciting.
I just want to speak one more time on the social media. So how much does social media play in whom you work with or whom you deal with as far as the music industry is concerned?
Right. So traditionally, a booking agent and a record label is going to look at how many Facebook followers you have and what your outreach is, and that's going to dictate if it's a worthy investment, by that company. But we are finding that the Facebook numbers are very inflated. We're finding that algorithms come in and screw everything up on Instagram and whatnot. And so really what I'm looking at is like the Spotify monthly listeners. Are you keeping people's attention? Are they invested in you? And so I would say artists with over like 300,000 monthly listeners, that's like a viable candidate. And it's that coupled with, what does your tour look like? Are people engaging? Are they buying tickets? Are you connecting with people? But I recently just got involved in this TikTok app which is the target demographic is like 12 to 16-year-olds.
Mm.
But it's wildly impressive what these kids are doing on this app. It's a lot of really creative video editing, and they make their little music videos, and it's stuff that like I don't post anything because I'm like too intimidated by it. Like these kids are way out of my league. But these are the kids that are going to be making music videos in 10 years.
Sure. Yeah, I think my girlfriend's daughter has it, and she's 8.
It's insane.
If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I'm going to have to ask her now. TikTok. I didn't know that it was that.
It's considered, it's considered a little Mickey Mouse and, for the kids, but at the same time, those kids are going to grow up. They're going to have money one day. They're going to, this is their world. We're just living in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
It's been their world for a very, very long time. I mean, when you think about the marketing surveys and everything like that, they go to those kids and see where the market is going for fashion, everything.
Right.
Because they're not emotionally attached to anything. It can happen, and then the next week it's gone.
Yeah, they really have no attachment. I mean, their ability to concentrate or see something is like 7 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? Like
and as soon as it goes commercial,
and they're really smart.
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah,
it's wild. It would take me a really long time to learn Photoshop and the Adobe Premiere and like the video editing, photo editing stuff, but they just pick it up in high school like that.
Yeah.
And so, to be competitive, you got to be on top of your game. I just hate the idea that one day I'm going to be like some old person that doesn't know how to check their email and has to like take the classes just to like function in society anymore. So I really do my best to try to stay on top of all these things and just embrace the change that the youth is bringing on. I mean, we could say like, oh man, it's dumbing people down. But the thing is, it's happening whether you like it or not.
Definitely.
So you got to get on board.
That's right.
Definitely.
Sure. Wow. So
go ahead.
Got a question. So an artist coming up today, I mean, you're looking at numbers, you're looking at Spotify or something like that, but do you still believe in the raw talent of an artist? Just showing up at a place, grabbing a beer or something like that, and this person singing their heart out. Is there a space for these type of artists?
Absolutely. We're in such a highly visible culture now that I would hope that raw talent has the platform to shine through. Yeah. It's just one of those innate things that when you're like standing there watching someone perform, you just know, like that's the sauce. There's this great artist that performs around LA, Kalina Zanders, insane vocalist, but she just has this presence on stage that she just owns every single person in the crowd. I was watching one of her shows in San Diego over a live stream, and the club wasn't filled out. And so she just comes into the crowd, splits the crowd in half. So that, they flank to the left and the right. And then she's just dancing up in the middle, creating, the density on the dance floor. And it's like, that's not something you don't get taught that. You just see an opportunity and say, you know what? This isn't an ideal situation, the crowd that I have, but I'm going to make it work. Yeah. And it's like that just intuition that I think is so invaluable for an artist. And some people just get up and do their set. Some people just get up and like go through the motions and everything. But people that can be creative in the moment, that's really what, you want to see.
Yeah. And can you say this? They may not have the numbers that, a person that, spends 80 or 70% of the time on their phone and that is doing the music, but this person is the talent. I mean, do you see the difference between like the old and the new that changed in the industry? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Skrillex had 5 followers at one point. Like everybody, it's cliche to say everybody starts somewhere, but so much of it is the people that you surround yourself with, are people empowering you and giving you the right opportunities. And don't underestimate luck. It's like everybody has an opportunity where they're going to take that opportunity to make good luck or bad luck. And most people just don't even recognize it. They're just sleepwalking. You got to recognize the moments that you have in your life. And it's always that you can feel it in your gut. Like if I pull the trigger here, I'm either going to fall flat on my face or it's going to work out. And it's like, just say yes, just do it. But so many people are just sleeping or sitting on their hands and like are too scared to take that risk. And you can never enact that luck if you don't. People always think that there's some like secret recipe to being successful in the music industry. And it's not at all. Just everyone's in the right place at the right time at some point in their lives. And you just got to jump when you're there.
Yeah.
Wow. So Patrick, what would you say sets Thrive apart from all of the other record labels or labels in general?
Well, I'm glad you asked that.
Mm-hmm.
So the trend in electronic dance labels right now is these like tastemaker celebrity backed labels. So you have like Alsla and Skrillex and Matt Decent and Diplo and Dirty Bird and Claude Von Stroke. And they're all great. And they do a really great job at curating to that artist brand. However, and you know, when if you release a record with those labels, it's like you're getting the stamp of approval from that celebrity, which is very validating.
Right.
And these labels are more of like a lifestyle brand nowadays than just being a record label. So Thrive doesn't have that celebrity to fall back on.
Wow.
We don't have that like
That's good.
stamp of approval thing. And so you could consider that to be limiting if you're plagued by the myopia of this is the only way you can operate. But what we see is without having that celebrity backed endorsement, we can be much more agile in the tracks that we release, because if you're releasing on a Mad Decent, then the music is probably going to be something that Diplo would want to play in his sets, but Diplo doesn't play like trance music, you know? So Mad Decent's never going to release trance, but we can do that because we don't have to like, you know, cater it to, you know, what our celebrity is doing. So really we take the approach of being like of defining dance music on a global scale. There's European dance music is completely different than American dance music. That's completely different than Australian dance music. And no one's out there representing the whole thing.
Right.
So we're not going to go deep trying to define certain genres and subgenres. We're just kind of skimming the top and saying, this is what the global audience is listening to.
Yeah.
And
I like that, Patrick.
It's great because we just partner with Capital. We do our distribution through the Capital Caroline team, and they have a really robust resources across the globe. So, you know, if we are doing a track that we think is specified just for the European audience, you know, we have the ability to just target them, or, you know, Asia or whatever.
Right.
And it's cool to be a part of that because you're setting up those artists to be able to go tour in those places where they normally wouldn't be able to have that. But a lot of these like boutique labels, the celebrity backed ones that I was mentioning, they really just focus like US. And, you know, we just want to be bigger. Always thinking bigger. You know? Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome.
So the next question I have is kind of along the line of what Journey asked. You know, of 100% of the artists that you guys work with, what is the percentage, of artists that need to be established before you sign them? And then what is the percentage of artists that don't necessarily need to be packaged and established, like that raw talent that Journey was talking about?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say it's something like 10 to 20% have to be really established, and they're kind of like,
oh,
really?
Wow. I thought that was going to be your larger number.
No, well,
wow.
No, because also these labels, these like mid-tier labels are also like a feeder system.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be a cheesy metaphor, but the established artists are like the good healthy fats that you eat that kind of sustain you and keep you full, and they have long withstanding energy. But then the smaller artists are more like carbs. You know, you have to eat a lot of them to get your energy up, but you just kind of burn through them a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
you have to work out a lot to burn them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that part.
So yeah, we have to move a good bit. So yeah, I mean, we're constantly looking for those new artists because any one of them could pop as well. It's like you have someone like Marshmello, who's arguably the biggest DJ in the world right now.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere. He was somebody's, you know, small little time act at some point. And so
That's
we're
true.
all waiting on the next marshmallow.
Right.
That's
Like my
true.
grandmother calls them backside of the desert talent. You know what I'm saying? You got to go back there and see what a real deal is. But I think that speaks volumes to you as a creator, shall I say? Because I always admire those that can look at the raw talent and use their gift and say, I'm going to make you amazing. Like, I'm not just going to build off or kind of like manage what you've already established or what was already established, but I have the ability to see something in you and I can put it before the world or put it on a platform and we can really make something happen. So kudos to you, Patrick. You're
Thank
a
you so
real
much.
boss,
I appreciate
a
that.
real boss.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of people or a lot of these labels and the way that was traditionally done is just like churn and burn, like grab as many acts as you possibly can and don't give them any special attention. We'll just see what sticks.
Right.
But I don't think in today's climate, you can afford to do that. You got to treat every artist like they're a priority artist.
Exactly.
And also one thing for young artists out there, this is like the most important thing that nobody tells you. The music industry is very small and everybody talks.
Super.
So if you're not giving
gotcha.
people the time of day, you're treating them like they're others or whatever, that's going to get around at some point.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to do business with you. So you do not burn bridges, apologize, and take responsibility for your actions.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is everybody learns that the hard way. But
Yeah.
That's true.
Well, I got to say, Patrick, another thing is you have to be careful with it, not so much just to burn bridges, but you never know if the one you're not giving attention to or the one you kind of like pushing to the side may be the one that ends up really making it. And then they decide not to renew a contract. You just never know which one or which ones of the group that you are working with is going to be that one that's going to like go platinum versus the one that goes gold or versus the one that just kind of like maintains but is in gold or platinum.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I have mad respect for that. Mad respect.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it is wild. The fact I really like to consider that one of the big advantages that the internet and social media created was it eliminated the mutual exclusivity of like underground and mainstream culture. It's like everything is on the same playing field. I really don't think underground music exists anymore. And so you come around and release on Friday, and it doesn't matter how many followers you have or not, that could be your Friday.
Exactly. Exactly.
So with that being said, then what advice then would you give to an up and coming artist? What's one or two things that you would say, hey, you know, this is what you need? I know burning the bridges, I'm with you on that, man.
Right.
I'm really with you on that. But is there anything else that you would want to make sure they knew?
So I think we have this perception of celebrity entertainers as it's kind of like a cheat system to arrive at like a security in your life. It's like one day you could be nobody, and then the next day you're somebody, and everybody loves you and everything. And so we look at that as like a fast pass to success, whatever. But the problem is it's not a fast pass at all. Like it's a really crazy journey, and you have to be absolutely insane to subject yourself to that. And that's why people make it, is because they stick it out and they put up with all the crap. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've had that conversation with myself. It's like, I should probably just like go work at a marketing agency or something way more profitable.
Even you, Patrick. Wow.
Because,
look at that.
I mean, corporate America you make a lot more money. It's a lot more secure. And that's my version of being an artist celebrity. But the thing is, I'm still here because I'm just dumb enough to still be here. You know?
Well, I'm here with you, brother.
But your legacy will last forever. And that's the difference.
Exactly.
So the thing is, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I just think you keep on like, and at times as myself being an entrepreneur with LA Style Magazine, like, it gets hard at times. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. Like I could take a breather, but as long as you keep on going, if your vision and your goal is X, you're going to get there. It just depends how long, you're going to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to hard work, you're either putting it on debit or credit. You know, you either get the big reward up front and then you're going to have to pay for it as a credit card, later on, or you can put in the work now as a debit and then collect on your return later.
Or both as an entrepreneur. You just put on your credit card sometimes.
So I mean, for
that's
young,
a great analogy, man.
No,
Yeah.
that's true.
young people coming up, it's just like get used to the idea that you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of social events and sacrifice, man. You're just going to have to sacrifice a lot of your life and pay it down now.
Yeah.
Wow. My son was
Powerful.
just telling me that last night. He was like, I don't hang with my friends right now because he's into music. He was just telling me that last night. I'm like, you're young. Like, stop it. But he is serious. He's like, I don't have time for all that.
Right.
Like, I have a vision.
There you go.
I got to give him props after talking to Patrick.
Well, I love what you said to the young people and then people coming up. So where can they find you, follow you, so they can reach out to you, man, and get you their music, man? Where can they find it? On social?
So all my handles, Instagram, Twitter, is punks don't rave, which is intended to be ironic, but yeah, I'm not a huge social media presence. I don't think I'm much of an influencer myself, but
a lot of managers really aren't PR on it.
It is, running a record label is an insane amount of work. And I just don't have, it's past my bedtime right now. Like, the fact that y'all got me out here was wild. I just don't have, I don't have the time or the energy for it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Punks don't rave.
Yeah.
I love that. I know you don't love that Raven Dave. Punks don't rave. Awesome. Well, man, as we come to the end, man, I know you're tired, man, and we appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
We always like to ask, our guests one thing and one thing only. That's really, really pertinent. We want to find out and see what you have to say because it's very interesting, all the perspectives that we get. And we want to know, what is your superpower?
Man, I feel like I'm the cockroach that survives the nuclear apocalypse.
Okay, that is extraordinary. I don't know what to do.
I love it.
I mean, it goes back to what I was saying. Like, I'm just dumb enough to
Unbelievable.
still be here after all this time and all these failures and everything. It's just keep getting up and keep marching. It's just keep swimming. Just keep swimming and
Hey,
that
man.
resilience.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
And
Resilience
Michael
is your
Jordan said it, man.
superpower.
The reason I succeed is because I failed
Yep.
over and over and over again. So,
Mhm.
hey, welcome,
Wow.
cockroach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I'm never going to live that down now.
Hey, nah.
I said it.
That is awesome.
I love it, man. That's great because
Yeah.
that's true, man. Them things never go away. Good Lord.
Get it.
I think so. Man, thank you for coming. Really.
Oh, thank you.
coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There you have it. Patrick Shannon. Let's give it up.
indeed.
Hey.
Trip Digital Radio, LA Style Magazine. We will be back.
Punks don't rave.
Yes.